We're fine?
Not quite yet.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay. I want to welcome everybody to the Public Works Committee meeting, October 19th, 2021. It is 2:54 and we have to apologize for being so late. We are holding this meeting virtual. Present today is Councilman David Banks, Councilman Vince Polizzi. We have the Mayor, Derek Slaughter. We have Michelle Fry. We have Adam Winder, Dave Columbine, and Joe Girardi. We also have Mr. Hoffman from UPMC and Chris Black, I'm sorry, our IT person, and Janice Frank, our city clerk. First thing on the agenda. Mayor, I think we're going to switch the agenda around a little bit because we have a guest here. I'm going to let you we're going to go down to the resolution on number 4, resolution authorizing execution of agreement between City of Williamsport, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Department of Transportation, UPMC Williamsport, Little League Baseball Incorporated, and Pennsylvania College of Technology.
Yep, so as you stated there, we have a resolution authorizing an agreement between all of those parties. UPMC is the applicant. The rest of us, Little League, Penn College, and the city are on there because the signage, we're part of the signage, and we have to sign off on this use of the state highway right away. This agreement permits the above parties to complete the project, and as far as the city of Williamsport, we will not have any responsibilities for the costs involved in this agreement application. The applicant will bear, in this case, UPMC, will bear all of those costs. And simply what this is, they're just looking to update a few of the signs along the Beltway. So just to, and Mr. Huffman can speak to this more than I can, but that's what it is. And Mr. Huffman is here to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Mr. Huffman, would you like to explain?
And this was, I should, sorry,
Sure.
one more thing. This was reviewed by Mr. Lubin. Thanks. Go ahead, Mr. Huffman, sorry.
Okay.
Sure, I'd be glad to share the scope of what we're proposing here. It basically involves 5 existing signs, 2 of which we're proposing be removed. There's one eastbound providing direction to Divine Providence Hospital, about 0.2 of a mile east of Market Street Bridge. And there's also one on westbound, about a 1/2 mile east of the Faxon exit. And the reason we are wanting those removed is Divine Providence is no longer licensed as a hospital because it does not have an emergency room. Since January 1st, 2019, Divine Providence campus has really been established as a department of UPMC Williamsport. So those 2 signs are planned to be removed. There are 3 other signs that basically just involve some naming changes. And this opportunity has really been precipitated by Cumming College's Craft Gateway Center, where they're going to direct people onto their campus via Basin Street in lieu of current signage, which has them exiting on north onto Market Street. So they come off an existing sign about 0.2 of a mile east of Market Street on westbound, and that gives us opportunity to be placed on that sign. And for westbound traffic to UPMC Williamsport, it's a shorter path, obviously, for them to get off on Market Street, go up Market, and turn left on Little League Boulevard to Walnut Street and turn northbound on Walnut to the hospital. There's also a sign on westbound lane of the Beltway, about a 1/2 mile east of Maynard Street, which has Williamsport Hospital and Pennsylvania College of Technology. Because we're going to have westbound traffic exit on Maynard or onto Market Street, we don't, and PennDOT will not allow 2 exits identified for the same facility. So we have to remove our name from a sign westbound about 0.2 of a mile east of Maynard Street. And then the third sign with name change is eastbound about 0.1 of a mile west of Maynard Street. Currently has Williamsport Hospital and Pennsylvania College of Technology. We're just going to change the name to UPMC Williamsport Hospital on that sign. So that's the description of the proposed changes here.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Any questions from Dave or Vince?
No questions.
Mr. Hoffman, I just have one quick question. The removal of the Divine Providence signs, are you going to replace that signage at all?
No, we do not plan to replace it.
Okay, so they're definitely removed. Okay, there's no other questions. I'd like a motion, please.
I move to for the
So moved.
full body of council with a positive recommendation.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Hoffman, thank you so much for the explanation, and thank you very much for being here today.
Okay, all right. I'll be excused then. Thank you.
Yes, you are. Thank you so much.
you're
Again,
welcome.
we're
Glad to-
changing this around a little bit. I would like to, because we have another guest here, Michelle Fry. Adam Winder, number 2 on the agenda, PA1 call update for the trees in Newberry. Are you there, Adam? Adam Winder. Joe Girardi.
They're on mute, maybe. Adam, you're on mute if you all are trying to talk. I'm not sure.
We're unmuted now. Here's Adam. Sorry. A little technical
Okay.
difficulty.
You guys disappeared from me. We're going, Adam Winder, we changed around because Michelle's sitting here. An update on PA1 call on the trees in Newberry.
So it took a little bit of a push to get all the utility companies to come out and mark out their utilities in such a long stretch. I believe the deadline for them to do that was Friday. So the next step is hopefully this week, Chad will go out and identify placement of trees.
Okay. Any questions? Dave?
Yeah. So Adam, is he going to geotag them somehow? I'm just curious as to what level of accuracy that will be at.
I'm sorry.
The potential location of the trees, is he going to geotag them somehow? I'm worried if we do like if it's not to a great level of accuracy, then the position could shift back and forth, and then we might get in a little bit of trouble with PennDOT when they come back out to actually pave the road.
Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to geotag them.
Okay.
Chad's basically gonna create a map to say that if council decides we're gonna plant trees in the early spring and the administration agrees, then we're just gonna go out and plant them at that time.
Okay. But like, once again, we will have some sort of written agreement with PennDOT to ensure that those trees will not come down based on their location and their lack of interference with any, or potential interference with utilities.
That is our goal. Our goal is to keep them, 3 feet away from all utilities. That way there's no chance that they could say, well, it was in the way or whatever have you. We're going to be as cognizant as possible to make sure that we don't put a tree in that they could possibly decide has to be removed.
Thank you.
Vince, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. Not at this time, Bonnie.
Adam, we're not going to know how many are going to be replaced, do we, until Chad goes through all of this, right?
Correct.
I think Michelle would really like to be kept informed of this contest because of they've been waiting a long time for this.
Yeah, our goal is once he creates the map to share it with Michelle. Even when he decides to go out there, it's probably going to take him a couple days to make it through the entire stretch. She's welcome to join them if she has time, give her input on what she thinks. We're open for anything and everything.
Michelle, would you like to address that?
Yeah, thanks, Adam. Chad, thanks to you too. I assume you're in the room, although I can't tell. We have a meeting for the partnership, for the Newberry Partnership tomorrow, and I just want to be sure that I'm clear. The map that Chad's going to create is just for locations, not for species. Is that right?
Correct. He'll have to see what species are available
Right.
in order to be able to place them.
So my suggestion is that Chad be permitted to do that work, on his own time without any inclusion of the neighbors. But perhaps once he's got that map of where we can put trees, maybe the neighbors could be included with respect to the species.
Absolutely.
I think they'd appreciate that. We know I've got a couple of people on the group that have done a lot of work. And I guess one last question. And I don't think that you're going to know the answer really. So maybe let me rephrase. Is the objective to put approximately 43 trees back in, which is what hasn't been replaced yet? Is that the objective, or is the objective to even get more than that? Or
right. The objective is to put in as many as we possibly can.
Okay. So if that's more than 43 or whatever that magic number was, I want to say it was in the low 40s. The city would be agreeable to that as well?
I don't want to speak for the mayor or council, but I would like to say yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion, if I may interject briefly, at the rescue plan meetings. And so obviously it would have to ultimately be voted on by council and allocated the money. But, I'd be in favor of replacing the trees and working with homeowners. I know there were not many, but maybe a slight few that didn't want a tree in front of theirs. But wherever the trees need to be, and then working with PennDOT to try to make sure that we can get the appropriate trees and they're not going to be touched.
Great, thank you.
I think we've are pushing to have this done for the spring, which I think there should be a tree planting party for everybody involved, because it's been a long time coming. And I want to thank everybody for all the work they've been doing. Adam, thank you so much. I know that the partnership is going to have a sigh of relief at this point, knowing that trees are going to be back on that street.
It's always nice to report good news. Thank you, Bonnie. I'm going to go ahead and log off then, unless you need me for something else.
Nope, don't need anything else.
Excellent. All right, I'll tell the group tomorrow evening. Thank you, guys.
Okay, this was just a discussion, so there's no vote. Adam, you're still up because I'm changing their agenda around. If you could give an update for Nicole Day on Logue Street.
I did speak to Miss Day last week, I believe it was. I sent an email to Mr. Raymond identifying what we would like them to do if they wanted to put that service in this year yet. He was passing that information along to his team, and I have not heard anything back yet. Mr. Girardi, have you heard anything?
No, I haven't heard anything other than what he sent to us. And again, I'm going to look at what he sent to us. He's basically, I think, saying that unless we have something in writing, basically, he's just really required to do his 3x5 or 4x7, whatever the size cut 1 foot over extending. So I think that's what they're going to come back and say. It's nothing written down saying we're required to do it a certain way.
So I think the only leverage from what Joe's saying you have is to not allow them to do it this fall.
Right. And again, this is not a primary heat source we're talking. This is a heat source for a basement that they remodeled. And we need to discuss the remodeling of the basement with her concerning permitting and so forth. But so again, it's up to you guys what you want to do. I preferably not cut the road until next year myself.
From the committee, yes, Dave.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I've been the naysayer on this one along with Mr. Girardi. For the structural integrity of the road, knowing the type of patch that's going to have to go on at this time of year. Now, Adam, I remember you had come up with an amicable compromise, but I can't remember for the life of me what that was. It was really just asking the utility company how much they would pave. Is that the?
Right, so Hall Bakers is our current contractor for our street reconstruction. Their suggestion was that the contractor would pave from curb to curb, and then their overlay would be 4 foot beyond what their cuts are on each side, so that it gave us a better seam, less chance of water penetrating and making the road heave.
But the subsurface.
Mr. Banks, I think, see, the last thing that we're going to be discussing on a discussionary purpose is basically this right now. What do we do when someone does cut the road, or they request to cut a road, but it's not an emergency? So I think we're going to be discussing that here at the end today, which would help us in this situation.
Right. So that what I was getting at was that the subsurface digging will not be along that full repaving area. So settlement will happen. You know, if there's settlement, it would happen where settlement would happen, because it's only been dug in one area, but we're paving a larger area. So the subsidence could still happen. You know, it could still occur. You know, for that reason, I would be against this. You know, there's a reason that we put that ordinance in place, or previous council put that ordinance in place as it stands. So that's all from me.
Vince, do you have anything?
I do. Thank you, Bonnie. I have to agree with Councilman Banks and with Mr. Girardi on this one. You know, that was put in place for a reason. As much as I would like to see the day residents get upgraded, you know, we have certain rules, and I just can't justify in my mind right now that this is an emergency extenuating circumstance. You know, as Mr. Girardi indicated, it's not a primary heat source. So just given that in itself, I can't justify it. I can't see that.
I think the committee has come to the conclusion that we cannot justify this. I think also, Adam Winder, since you're the one who thought that this could be justified, I think we're going to dump it in your lap at this point to get in touch with Nicole Day and inform her that we are not going to allow her to do this until next year, which I think at this point in time, not only is it what our law is right now, but I don't think we want to see this road being done at this time of year, period. I think it's, you know, we're heading into colder weather, and it, as Mr. Banks has said, it could create more of a problem. So let's wait. We'll wait till next year.
Typically, Bonnie, what we do as my department, we'll take care of it, Fred. We usually either send an approval letter out or a denial letter. And we'll just send out our standard denial letter, letting them say, no, we did not approve it. And
Okay.
so, all right.
Okay, so you'll take care of that.
Yep.
Okay.
So you can
Next.
throw me under the bus on that one if you want.
That's all right. I've been
Okay.
thrown under the bus a couple different times and rolling backwards and forwards, so I'm used to it.
You know, when it gets to streets, you know that it doesn't make any difference who's going to get thrown under the bus. Somebody is, somewhere's along the line. Number 3 on the agenda is also a discussion on street trailer parking. Joe Girardi, I don't know whether this is for you or Adam Winder or where we go with this, but there seems to be more and more trailers being parked throughout the city, and we're getting a lot of complaints from citizens throughout the city. We don't have anything on the books from what I could find.
Well, we do. If the trailers is hooked to a vehicle, okay, then it's permitted to be there. If it's not hooked to a vehicle, then it's illegally parked on the street.
Okay,
And I don't want to throw more onto the chief of police, but I would probably talk to him more about that than myself. But if it's unhooked from there, the zoning department or the codes department doesn't have any authority to tell them to move that. Really, it would only be up to the police department. Sorry, chief. I didn't know you're talking about. Off-street parking, where people are parking on the street and they have their trailer there, but they don't have a hook to a vehicle. In the ordinance somewhere, it states that it must be attached to a vehicle. If it's just a trailer itself, like a trailer boat all by itself sitting there, in the ordinance, it's not permitted to be there. But from my understanding, talking to the magistrates, the zoning officer doesn't have any authority to issue someone a violation notice if it's in the street, right? If it's on the lot, we can deal with it.
Right. Then
It's
it
on
would
the
just be,
street
it would
corner.
just be a ticketing for,
Right.
pursuant to the ordinance in place.
I just think the best thing to do is mine, they should really refer those back into the police department and they can take care of it at that point. If someone has a problem with the vehicle part, to call the police department and they'll send somebody out to take a look at it.
We'll try.
We'll try. Right.
How about tractor trailers?
I think, Bonnie, if you remember correctly, that was something we discussed back in the day when Mr. Noviello was still on the board about if it's designated, says they're right on the street, that it's illegally parked, or trailers are not permitted to be there, that's fine, but there are places that they could park on the street that we don't have the authority to tell them to move it unless it's something in ordinance form, if I'm correct, Adam, I think that's.
That is how it ended, and we determined
Yeah.
that we couldn't put signs all over the city.
Right.
Because the cost would be too much.
Right, because you can't just put one at one end and one at another end, and there's like a mile between the road. That has to be designated on each street intersection. I believe it was the way it was told by Norm Lubin at the meeting.
I couldn't remember. I know we had a long discussion about this
Right.
with Don. And, I just couldn't remember where we stood with it.
Right,
It's
a tough one to enforce.
Yeah, and that's what that's the bottom line of what I remembered. So therefore, a lot of what we see is a lot of lawn caring people at this point with the trailers. So
Right.
if their trailers attached to their vans and their vehicles, it's no problem. There's nothing that can be done with them parked out in front of their homes,
Right,
even though they're taking up multiple parking spaces,
correct.
which everybody is so, they want their own parking spaces in front of their homes.
Right,
But if they detach the trailer, then that's a problem.
correct. If it's detached sitting there by itself, that's really not permitted.
Okay. Okay. I think we're going to have to make sure somehow the public is aware of this. I don't know, because I know there's been questions. There have been questions because there have been so many more lawn care people taking care of things like this. Okay. And I think
It
that's
could be
been,
something that could be placed on the website, leaf sheet for a while, letting people know.
I think so, because let's face it, you don't think of things like that. You really wouldn't. If that's how you're making a living, you would never think that if you detached your trailer, that's illegal.
Right.
And I think that should be put on the website then. You're right.
Okay,
So,
what I can do is I can talk, I don't know if it's Chris or Josh, whoever it is. But I will talk to someone concerning it and put a little something together and send it out to him so we can place it on there.
okay, Chris, are you there right now? Are you on?
Yes, I am.
Are you doing the website?
No.
No, you're
Okay.
not doing, okay.
I'll find out who's taking care of that and we'll see what we can come up with.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. Good discussions here. Next thing on the agenda is resolution for the execution of certain streets for a gas main replacement project by the city of Williamsport for UGI Utilities in Corp Lafayette Parkway. Mr. Girardi.
Yeah, what you have is 3 resolutions concerning streets that need to be milled and overlaid. And typically, these are standard resolutions we bring forward to council or the Public Works Committee every year at this time. The problem is at this point, they're working hard. It usually takes about a year and a half to do a whole entire street project. We're not talking little street cuts. They're at the point where they're not going to be able to do that until next year, doing the final milling and overlay. They do have their base down on these projects, or they will be having it completed. So this is our standard resolution requesting the extension of time. We're going to do like we normally do, and when the plant's closed, we're going to require that high performance coal patch gets put in place instead of just a regular. If anything happens during that time frame, they'll have to come back and repair it, fix it before spring. So that's just what these next 3 resolutions are. So if you have any questions, I'm here. Dave Columbine's also here. He's the gentleman that does go out there and does the inspection work on those.
Okay, any questions? Dave or Vince?
No.
I couldn't get to my mute button there, Councilman Katz.
I was watching your hand, Dave.
Yeah, I'm right, so just to clarify, so this would be repaved in spring, am I getting that right, or am I not reading this correctly?
Yeah, basically, come springtime when the plant's open, they have 45 days to complete the project.
Okay.
And that, the reason why we don't put a date down, because depending on the weather, the plant may open a little earlier or a little later.
Okay, I just wanted to put that out to the public, make sure that was clarified. Thank you.
I don't have any questions. Vince, I take it you said no, right? So I need a motion for resolution of authorizing the excavation of certain streets for a gas main replacement project for the city of Williamsport for UGI Utilities for Lafayette Parkway.
Bonnie, I move to forward that whole spiel onto the full body of council with a positive recommendation.
Thank you. Vince,
I second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion is carried. Second one is resolution authorizing the excavation of certain streets for a gas main replacement project by the city of Williamsport for UGI Utilities for Tucker Street. I take it there would be no questions on this one.
No
Then I need a
questions.
motion.
Dave, I guess. Oh, it's your turn. Go ahead.
I will move to forward this on to the full body of council with a positive recommendation.
And I will second that.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Next one is resolution authorizing the excavation of certain streets for a gas main replacement project by the city of Williamsport for UGI Utilities for Park Avenue, for the Park Avenue project. Need a motion.
I move to forward this on the full body of council with a positive recommendation.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is carried. Item number 8 on our agenda is any related items. Is there anything from the good